It's been 60 years since For a Few Dollars More, the film that forever changed the Western genre. But behind that shining glory, many stars faced tragic endings. Some left us too soon, others quietly faded into obscurity, and many carried untold secrets. Their real lives were more complex and haunting than any story on screen. If you find this content interesting, please leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more exciting videos. Let's explore these chilling truths and honor the legacy they left behind. Clint Eastwood, born on May 31, 1930 in San Francisco, California, USA, is one of cinema's legends, famous for his role in For a Few Dollars More 1965 when he was 35 years old, playing the character Manco, a cold and sharp bounty hunter. Clint created an immortal image in the Italian Western genre. His piercing gaze, calm demeanor, and profound acting elevated Eastwood to international stardom, marking the beginning of the legendary Dollars trilogy. However, behind his illustrious career was a turbulent personal life. Clint Eastwood has been married twice and involved in many controversial relationships. He has at least 8 children with 6 different women. His first marriage to Margaret Neville Johnson lasted over 30 years, but much of that time was overshadowed by his affairs. When the marriage ended, she left him with just one sentence: "I loved a man who couldn't love anyone but himself." Afterwards, he had a 14-year relationship with actress Sandra Locke. However, that relationship also ended bitterly, with Sandra accusing him of betrayal control and sabotaging her career. Clint Eastwood's life is marked not only by his successes on screen, but also by a series of losses and challenges in love. Old age has brought many hardships for Clint Eastwood. After decades of dedication to the arts, he faced a devastating blow when his daughter Allison Eastwood passed away from cancer in 2024. This was one of the rare moments the public saw him cry, revealing a pain too deep for words. However, despite facing tragedy, he never gave up the work he loves. Clint Eastwood, dealing with a mild heart condition due to age and years of stress, requires regular medical supervision. Nevertheless, he refuses to rest, insisting, "If I stop working, I'll die." Despite his declining health, Clint continues to direct and oversee film projects, most recently Juror Number 2, 2024. Now, at 95 years old, he lives in Carmel-by-the-Sea, California, where he once served as mayor. With an estimated net worth of $375 million, Clint Eastwood is not only a cinematic icon, but also a living testament to perseverance, discipline, and the will to overcome pain. He has proven that despite age, hardships, and losses in life, with a passionate heart and determination, we can still keep rising. Lee Van Cleef, born on January 9, 1925 in Somerville, New Jersey, was one of the standout faces in the Italian Western genre. His role as Colonel Douglas Mortimer in For a Few Dollars More 1965 helped Van Cleef revive his career after years of being overlooked by Hollywood. The character Mortimer, a cold and clever bounty hunter haunted by a deep obsession, turned Lee Van Cleef into an icon of charismatic villains in this genre. This role not only elevated his career, but also helped shape the image of legendary characters within the genre. However, behind his successful career, Lee Van Cleef's personal life was full of turmoil and challenges. He was married 3 times throughout his life. His first marriage to Patsy Ruth Cale lasted 15 years and produced 3 children, but ended when he fell into a mental crisis after World War II. His second relationship with Joan Marguerite Drain also didn't last long. After a serious car accident in 1958 that caused severe facial injuries, The change in his appearance led him into a deep depression, feeling like he had lost himself. Lee Van Cleef's third marriage to Barbara Havalone brought him temporary peace. However, illness and age remained major challenges he had to face. Lee Van Cleef suffered from heart problems caused by smoking for over 40 years, and he also battled throat cancer. Despite his declining health, he continued working tirelessly out of fear of being forgotten. Although quietly battling cancer, Lee Van Cleef could not overcome a sudden heart attack on December 16, 1989, and passed away at his home in Oxnard, California at the age of 64. His net worth was estimated to be around $2 million, mostly from his successful roles in Sergio Leone's films and Hollywood. Despite a life full of challenges and losses, Lee Van Cleef left behind a great cinematic legacy as an icon of the Italian Western genre. Klaus Kinski, whose real name was Klaus Gunther Kaminski, was born on October 18, 1926, in Sopot-Free City of Danzig. In 1965, at the age of 39, he played Juan Wild, a wild outlaw in For a Few Dollars More. Although it was a minor role, the character left a strong impression on the audience thanks to Kinski's wild, fierce, and instinctive acting style. This role marked the beginning of Klaus Kinski's controversial career, as he later became known as one of the most rebellious actors in European film history. Kinski's married life was far from smooth. After marrying singer Zinda Kulbeck in 1952 and divorcing just 3 years later due to his violent and controlling nature, he went through a series of turbulent marriages. His relationship with actress Ruth Brigitte Key brought him a daughter, Nastasia Kinski, who later became an international star. However, her childhood was marked by fear of her father's temper. His third marriage to Vietnamese model Minh Hoi Lawanica also ended unhappily when she left, taking their young child with her. The shocks in his life drove Klaus Kinski further into drug and alcohol addiction as a way to escape reality. In 1971, Kinski suffered his first heart attack while filming in Spain, but he ignored all medical advice and kept working. His health steadily declined, leading to panic attacks and a level of aggression worse than ever before. On November 23, 1991, he passed away at his home in Laguna, California, from a sudden heart attack. His death sparked much criticism from family members, especially his daughter Pola, who publicly accused him of abusing her for 14 years, tarnishing his legacy. Kinski's net worth was estimated to be around $4 million, much of which had been depleted by lawsuits and substance abuse. Peter Lee Lawrence played Mortimer's younger brother in the flashback scenes. Peter Lee Lawrence, whose real name was Carl Hirsch, was born on February 21, 1943, in California, USA. At just 22 years old, he portrayed Colonel Mortimer's younger brother in the brief flashback scenes of the 1965 film For a Few Dollars More. With his handsome face, sad eyes, and cool demeanor, Lawrence quickly caught the audience's attention. But behind his rising career was a harsh fate that led to his sudden death in his early 30s. After his initial success, Lawrence continued to appear in a series of Italian westerns, such as $2,000 for Ringo and Killer Caliber 32, becoming a symbol of American masculinity amid the booming European film industry. In 1969, while filming Dovi Spa Dieu, he met and fell in love with Spanish actress Cristina Galbao. They got married and had a son, living what seemed like a perfect life. But in 1972, fate began to turn. While filming De l'Automne de Ana in Los Cabos Bay, Lawrence suddenly experienced a severe headache and collapsed right on set. After examination, doctors diagnosed him with a malignant brain tumor. During his final 2 years, Lawrence lived amid physical pain and spiritual despair. He underwent surgery in Madrid, then moved to Zurich for chemotherapy and radiation therapy, but the treatment quickly drained his strength. In March 1974, Lawrence was hospitalized in Rome due to complications, and in the early morning of April 20th, he passed away from multi-organ failure caused by metastatic cancer. He was only 31 years old. Peter Lee Lawrence died quietly, leaving behind his young wife and child, along with an estate of around $500,000, most of which was spent on medical treatment. Luigi Pistilli, born on July 19, 1929 in Ghetto, Italy, rose to fame with his role as Groggy in the film For a Few Dollars More, 1965. With his angular features and distinctive hoarse voice, he left a strong impression on audiences not only through his role, but also his deeply conflicted inner emotions. Groggy was a ruthless outlaw, but beneath that exterior lay sadness and pain. Although Luigi's career saw significant progress, he faced intense inner battles. His romance with singer and actress Milva was one of the bright spots in his life. However, after their relationship ended in early 1996, Luigi fell into a deep depression. The play Tusca, in which he played Scarpia, was also harshly criticized by reviewers, adding to his despair. On the evening of April 21, 1996, just before the final performance of Tusca, Luigi took his own life in his apartment in Milan. He died at the age of 66, leaving behind a legacy worth around $1.2 million. His death sparked a public outcry and opened discussions about mental health in the arts. Milva, his former lover, emotionally said on television, "I'm not angry with him. I just wish he had called me one last time." If you find this story interesting and want to learn more, don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more exciting videos. Let's continue together right now. Rosemary Dexter, born on July 19, 1944 in Quetta, British India, began her film career with the role of Colonel Mortimer's sister in For a Few Dollars More, 1965. Though brief, this tragic role left a strong impression as a beautiful, fragile woman and a symbol of loss. It also marked the beginning of her successful career in Italian cinema during the 1960s. Although her career began early, Rosemary's love life was full of heartbreak. She dated many famous directors, but most of them saw her merely as a stepping stone for their own careers. These bitter experiences shattered her faith in love and pushed her into depression. In a 1973 interview, she admitted, "I live under the stage lights, but my heart is full of darkness." In the following years, Rosemary suffered from a chronic illness, possibly cancer, or a neurological disorder which rapidly weakened her health. In 1976, at only 32 years old, she announced her retirement. During her final years, she lived a solitary life in the small town of Recanati with little social interaction, spending her time reading and listening to music. In September 2010, she passed away at her home and was cremated in a small funeral without any family present. Her net worth was around $800,000, most of which was left to charities supporting women with depression. Joseph Egger, born on February 22, 1889 in Donauwitz, Austria-Hungary, was a veteran actor with a long career spanning over 70 films and significant contributions to European cinema and theater. At the age of 76, he played an old prophet in For a Few Dollars More, 1965, a mysterious, slow-paced, and wise character who brought a unique, surreal touch to the film. Although he appeared in only a few scenes, Joseph Egger left a strong impression with his distant gaze and hoarse voice. This late role held great significance for him, marking the peak of his acting career. Egger's personal life, however, was filled with tragedy. He was married to Erna and had 3 children. The couple overcame post-war poverty together, but in mid-1966, Erna suddenly passed away after a stroke. The shock completely devastated Egger. Friends recalled that he wouldn't eat and would spend hours looking at old photos of his wife crying uncontrollably. Less than 3 days later, Joseph Egger suffered a stroke at his home in Gap, Lower Austria. Although he was rushed to the hospital, he did not recover and passed away on August 29, 1966, at the age of 77. His estate was estimated at around $300,000, mostly from small roles and a lifetime of savings. He was buried next to his wife at Gablet Cemetery. Lorenzo Robledo, born on May 5, 1918 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, had a remarkable film career despite many hardships. In 1965, at the age of 47, he played Minutillo, a low-ranking member of El Indio's gang in For a Few Dollars More. Robledo delivered a desperate performance that left a strong impression of a survivor in Sergio Leone's harsh world. With his angular face and eyes full of despair, Robledo made a powerful impact, despite playing a small role. After emigrating from Argentina to Italy, he faced a life of poverty. Robledo lived in a small, rented room near the Cinecittà studios, taking on any job he could, from horseback riding to falling from great heights in dangerous scenes. Once in Almeria, Spain, he was dragged over 30 meters by a horse, breaking several ribs and nearly losing his life. However, Robledo didn't stop saying, "I'm not afraid of pain. I'm only afraid of stopping." Living a lonely life without a wife or children, Lorenzo Robledo's solitude grew deeper over time. Though he was part of a cinematic legacy, he remained a man on the sidelines of history. In September 2006, he passed away in Madrid at the age of 88 due to heart failure. He was cremated in a small funeral attended by only a few former colleagues. His estate was estimated at around $600,000, mostly savings from a lifelong career spanning over 80 films. Frank Brana, born on February 24, 1934 in Auria, Spain, was a familiar face in the Italian Western genre. His role as Blackie, a cold and ruthless henchman in For a Few Dollars More, 1965, helped Brana become a memorable character in the eyes of the audience. With his tough features and sharp gaze, he left a lasting mark in the genre that Sergio Leone dominated at the time. This pain deeply affected Brana for many years. Later, he met Maria, a young nurse who became his lifelong companion. However, Brana also struggled with a heavy smoking habit, smoking over 2 packs a day. This habit led to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, forcing him to use an oxygen tank to get around. Despite this, Brana continued going to film sets, taking small supporting roles to feel alive. On February 13, 2012, Frank Brana passed away in Madrid from respiratory failure at the age of 77. Aldo Sambrell, born on February 23, 1931 in Vallecas, Madrid, was one of the prominent names in the Italian Western genre. His role as Cuchillo, the knife-wielding assassin in For a Few Dollars More 1965 left a strong impression on audiences with its ruthlessness and agility, making him a memorable villain in Sergio Leone's films. Before entering the film industry, Sambrell was a soccer player, but due to an injury, he was forced to retire. Turning to stunt work, he endured countless accidents and injuries, from falling off horses and breaking ribs to suffering facial burns caused by explosives during action scenes. Despite all this, he continued working, saying, "I'm not afraid of pain, I'm only afraid of being forgotten." After more than 40 years in the industry, Aldo Sambrell's health began to seriously decline. He suffered from high blood pressure pneumonia and 3 consecutive strokes that left him partially paralyzed and unable to speak. His devoted wife, Candida Lopez Cano, cared for him during his final years, always by his side, with boundless love. In July 2010, the last stroke took Aldo Sambrell's life. He passed away in Alicante, Spain, at the age of 79. His estate was estimated to be around $900,000, mostly from Leone's films and international projects. Mario Brega, born on March 25, 1923 in Rome, Italy, was a familiar face in the spaghetti western genre. His role as Nino, a large and fierce henchman in For a Few Dollars, More 1965, helped Brega become a standout figure in Sergio Leone's films. With his massive build, fierce face, and hoarse voice, he successfully portrayed the image of gentle giants, bringing a sense of calm to a violent cinematic world. Before becoming famous, Brega lived a simple life working as a butcher in Rome. However, his life changed completely when he entered the film industry. Yet the spotlight of his career also cast shadows. After marrying Lutia in 1949, their marriage quickly fell apart. Brega was often absent due to filming commitments, and his struggle with alcoholism further weakened their family bond. Ultimately, Lutia left him in 1961, leaving behind a brief note, "You love cinema more than family." The loneliness and failure in his family life plunged Brega into deep sorrow. He once admitted, "I am strong on screen, but fragile in life." In his old age, Brega suffered from heart disease and high blood pressure, and his smoking addiction had severely damaged his health. Despite this, he refused treatment, saying, "I was born to make films, not to live forever." On July 23, 1994, Mario Brega passed away in Rome at the age of 71 due to a heart attack. His estate was estimated to be around $1.1 million, mostly from his roles in Leone's films. Benito Stefanelli, born on September 2, 1928 in Rome, Italy, was a renowned actor and stunt coordinator who helped define the iconic action style in Sergio Leone's films. His role as Luke Kyogi, a loyal henchman in For a Few Dollars More, 1965, left a strong mark on the spaghetti western genre. However, behind the spotlight were wounds that never fully healed, both physical and emotional. Before becoming an actor, Stefanelli was a stunt coordinator and weapons expert for Leone's films, helping to create the dramatic action scenes. However, his career was far from easy. After getting married and having a son named Marco, Stefanelli faced many dangers in his line of work. He fell off, horses broke his arm, suffered burns to his face from a prop gun explosion, and even sustained a serious head injury from a real explosion on set. Every time he came home, he carried new scars on both his body and his heart. His marriage was unstable. His wife left in 1972, taking their son with her. Stefanelli lived in loneliness, drowning in alcohol, and feeling that he had given everything to cinema without receiving anything in return. By the time he was 60, his health had seriously deteriorated. After many years of smoking and the pressures of his work, he developed heart disease. Although he suffered a heart attack in 1995, Stefanelli refused surgery, saying, "If my heart stops beating on set, I will die with a smile." The illness kept recurring and left him weak. On December 18, 1999, he passed away from a heart attack in Rome at the age of 71. His estate was estimated at around $850,000, mainly from supporting roles and technical consulting work in films. If you enjoyed the stories about the actors in For a Few Dollars More and the meaningful lessons from their lives, don't forget to like this video to show your support. Share it with your friends and family so they can explore the memorable moments in their career journeys and lives. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more exciting videos and fascinating stories. See you in the next videos.